Hey guys, had a little fun bushcraft idea, and I thought that I would share it with y'all. It's something I haven't done for a while, but it's really neat and it comes in really handy, especially around camp. But what I'm looking for right now is a small sapling, and it needs to be pretty small and it needs to be green. It won't work if it's not green. It can dry out later, but it needs to be green at the start. The species of tree really doesn't matter as long as it's a hardwood. I've never made one out of softwood before, so I would just stick with the hardwoods. And you can make it big, you don't have to. Summertime in Georgia, the woods are just slap full of spiders. They're everywhere. Got some grapevine. This stuff is great whenever it's small. You can see right here, it runs across the forest floor, I'll say. And even though it's thin, it makes really great natural cordage that you don't have to do anything to but pop the leaves off of it. So I'm looking for something about this diameter. It can be a little bit bigger, but for what we're going to do today, about this diameter will work. But something that's relatively straight without a whole bunch of knots and bends in it. I'm looking for, I don't know, roughly 2 feet maybe. I think I found it right here. I want to be able to process it with just my knife. So I think I found it right here. This right here looks like a pretty decent one. It's got a knot right about there, but from there down to about right here, it looks pretty good. So I'm going to process this thing down and we'll get started. This is, by the way, just to let you know, this is a really good wood, and everything that I don't use for this project I will be saving for later, because it's just an awesome wood. There goes a hawk. It's just an awesome wood to use for a lot of projects. It's a tulip poplar, and one of the ways that you can tell it's a tulip poplar, not only by the bark, because this is a young tree and it kind of looks like a lot of other young trees, but it's by the leaves. And you see that? Very unique shape. So if you can remember that, if you see those leaves, that's a tulip poplar. The inner bark makes great natural cordage for twisting. The reverse twist, it's super strong, especially when it's green. You can make it thin. It's good for fishing line and stuff like that. It's all around a good wood for woodworking. If you can find, it also sheds its limbs. The bigger trees shed their limbs when they die. And so if you can find a big tulip poplar, if you look around the bottom or just barely hanging in the lower set of limbs, there's usually dry limbs there. And you can take those and they make a just superior bow drill, spindle, and hearth. So just a little knowledge for you. But today we're going to do some bushcraft with it. All right, so the way that you process wood with just a knife, it's not very difficult, as long as you have a sharp knife for one. You just basically put tension on the tree, which is pulling it down. You'll find that spot. There we go. You'll find that spot at the base of the tree that you could just push your knife into and it will split. Grapevine's in the way a little bit, but I'm not going to cut it because I'm not going to be using it. So you'll find that little pressure point. You can kind of see where the bark's cracking right there, and you'll just push that knife into it. You hear that? Look at that. And that was almost a clean cut. See, without the tension, it's a lot harder to cut it even with a sharp knife. And you can always bend it back the opposite way as well. Put some tension on it. and cut in again. There it was. All right, now that we got our tree loose, and you gotta watch when you're cutting stuff, because dead limbs, they will fall on you. Always good to walk backwards. All right, let's go find us a good little spot to sit to work on this. I'm sure there's a fell log somewhere around here. All right, found us a nice little fell log. Good old bushman's seat. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find, this is the whole tree, limbs and all. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a section that I like, which is probably going to be from there to there. Because this is really green, I don't see, it's got one little split down in the bottom of it, but I don't think that's going to hurt us. So I'm going to cut this. I may cut another length as a baton and then get started. All right, I've got my piece cut for the project. I also cut a small baton stick just to help get the knife through. I'm going to take the bark off of this because, as I said, it is really great natural cordage, and there's just no point in wasting it. If you do decide to remove the bark from a limb, I highly suggest not holding the knife at your hand and dragging it down, because one little slip and you get a brand new scar. Just, if you see me doing something dangerous, just don't do it. That's my little disclaimer there. If you ever see me do something dangerous, which if you watch a video of mine, especially one where I'm holding a knife, you've probably seen me do something dangerous. Just don't do it. And the bark comes off pretty good. If this was springtime, the bark would basically just fall off of this. But since this is going to be a baton, it's going to be beat up, the bark will. As I'm beating on it, the bark's just going to get smashed and cut because it's hitting metal, not wood. So waste not, want less. I'll make some cordage out of this. All right, nice clean stick, and got a few feet of cordage to work on. All right, so I'm going to split this in half. It's already got a crack in it from where I split it with pressure. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a crack that runs right down beside that little fluff of stuff where I broke it off. So I'm going to line my knife up right there. Again, knife safety. That was not knife safety. All right. It's a little bit bigger than what I wanted. You can see down here at the bottom where it tapers off. It's a little bit bigger than what I wanted. So so I may have to just shave some off the back. I really didn't want to, so let me try something right here. I'm gonna try to get the knife started. Just a few nice easy taps. I just want to kind of split the bulk off of this without messing up the back of it. So I'm actually having to cut through the grain right there, just to kind of try to even it up a little bit. May have to cut the back of it though. That's a little bit better, but I mean we'll work with it. A little bit more cordage. That's also a really good fire starter. The little piece that we threw down there. All right, so now I'm going to start working this thing down. All right, now that I've got it about as smooth and as even as I can do it right this minute, there'll be some little bit of work on it later. I'm gonna find just about middle. I'll measure with fingers here. So that's about 10 inches, 20 inches. So around 24 to 25 inches. So I'm wanting about a 12-inch center. 12-inch center, so it's gonna be my thumb plus the top of my finger, give or take. So we'll call that right there about center. Make a mark just to have it. And then what I want to do is I want to start weeding off some of this coming from right here down to the center, and then again from here down to the center. And I'm going to make shallow cuts that get a little bit deeper. I may even start me a little trough right here. So I just went back and forth until I got a decent little trough in here, basically a stopping point, so that when I shave this way, it will hit, you know, not try to slice even farther into the grain. Want to make this really narrow so that it bends. The hard part of this is you don't want to take too much off of the sides and leave a hump in the middle, but the wider the material is, unless you have a draw knife, the harder it is to get that middle even with the sides. So you just kind of have to work on it. Looks like I have a knot right there that I didn't see. I'm hoping that that doesn't hinder me in any way. That's pretty close to the bend, so hopefully it won't raise a splinter. All right. So I got to the base of the trough on that one. So I need to turn around and work on this other side. So you can see it's kind of like floor tillering. It's starting to bend, but we got to get that section a lot smaller before it will. All right, I'm gonna try to pull the bark off the back of it and then flatten that down a little bit and get this thing to bend the way that I want it to. So, like I said, if you see me doing something dangerous like shoving a knife through tree bark at my fingers, please don't do it. By all means, don't do that. That's a good piece right there. Look at that. Here are little pricklies, or little pin knots. Those are always neat whenever you pull the bark off and you find the little spikes. That's just pin knots. That's where a limb is wanting to grow. And see, just having that bark off, it helps it want to bend. But you can see we got a lot more bend right here than we do right there. So I need to thin this out just a little bit more. And you don't have to be crazy about it. I mean, it is what it is. If you're just happy that it's bending, then just let it bend. If you want to go nuts and try to get it to all bend perfect, then by all means, bend it perfectly. I think that's got us just about where we need to be. Oh yeah. So here's the thing. Sorry, I had to check, make sure you can see. Here's the thing. You don't want to bend it all at once. You bend it all at once, you'll raise a grain. Or raise a splinter, I mean. You can kind of sand down the edges to try to keep from raising a splinter. You round them over a little bit, it helps a lot, believe it or not. Take our time. Bend it real slow. If you get in a hurry, this is where you're going to break it. Put some pressure on it with your thumb, fingers, whatever you got to do, and just go real slow. Like I said, if you had some fire, you could do this a little bit faster, but you could do it without fire. I'm starting to get a little bit of a split inside. Hopefully that won't hurt us too much. Check that out. Little pair of camping tongs. And they got a little crack in them right there. That's nothing serious. Like I said, if I would have had fire and if I would have went a little bit slower, but to save time on the video, you know, then it would have been a lot easier. I may do another pair of these in the future. and show you how to bend them with fire. It's so much easier. You can do it with fire, you can do it with boiling water. Either way, it's a lot easier than just doing it like that. But as you can see, they still work. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I would do a little bit more in depth, but I got a little crazy, and when I went to bend it, I put a little bit too much pressure on it and I broke it. But it is what it is. There's a million sticks. I've got a lot more wood right there to work with. I could probably even make one out of this right here, but it is what it is. You get the picture. However, even though it's broke, it still works. So maybe next time we'll do one and we'll do it with fire. You know, not everything you do works the first time, but this is probably like the 6th or 7th pair of these I've made, but I just screwed this one up. So, but next time maybe we won't. All right, guys. Actually, you know, I think I pretty much just fixed them just then. I cut that little spot off right there and maybe put a little rope around it. They would still work perfect. They're just not as aesthetically pleasing because it raised the back of it up. But it still works. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And on the next one, we'll try to do something a little bit different. Maybe next time we'll do it right. So see you then.